backstory about Florean Fortescue.
Well, what?
Hey, brother! Start with what it's not, right? And it's usually not Florean Fortescue, the history-obsessed ice cream dealer in Diagon Alley. But today, it is Florean Fortescue. He finally has his moment in the ice cream melting sun.
I'm gonna tell him.
Don't you dare.
So prepare yourselves for some stories about goblin rebellions or witch burnings or whatever he's talking about, and some heaps of free ice cream. Florean Fortescue himself, who, apart from knowing a great deal about medieval witch burnings, gave Harry free sundaes every half an hour. Every half an hour? Like, goodness gracious, Harry must be like the most lactose-tolerant human in existence. Or maybe that's just the benefit of magical ice cream. It's just like regular ice cream minus all the, you know.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Anyway, Florian is an odd bird, to say the least. We know he's the descendant of the former headmaster of Hogwarts, Dexter Fortescue. And as mentioned, he runs an ice cream parlor in Diagon Alley, and as of Half-Blood Prince, is ultimately abducted, only to just kind of never be heard from again. And on the whole, no one probably closes out Deathly Hallows with that odd mixture of sadness that the story is over and genuine confusion that the word sandwich is in the final line of the text. Because in case you're wondering, it totally is. Random, right? It's kind of like how the word hamburger is mentioned like 8 times in the first 8 chapters of the story and then just never said again. It's like distinctly one of the least magical words you can say. Hamburger. Hamburger. My point is, you probably don't close the book thinking, well, that was a raucous good time, but why in the name of Merlin's most baggy Y-fronts didn't we get to discover what happened to everyone's favorite digestive-friendly ice cream man? I mean, you give us the fate of Remus, Tonks, Fred, Colin Creevey, even Cedric, for goodness sake, but not Florian? I mean, he's mentioned 7 times in 3 different chapters after all. I feel like what y'all are actually thinking right now is, wow, Ben, we're deep diving obscure magical vendors these days. That Harry Potter barrel getting a little empty, isn't it? To which I say, hardly. This is what we do. And today's topic is no exception, as we explore the original intention behind the one, the only, the hardly mentioned Florean Fortescue. Okay, so let's talk about old Fortescue, shall we? We first meet him in Prisoner of Azkaban during Harry's stay in Diagon Alley, where his main role is to offer him help with his homework and his waistband. Weirdly, they cut this scene from the films, and I like to think it's like the green eye contact lenses that Daniel Radcliffe just couldn't adjust to them, and in order to film it accurately, he would have had to eat at least 12 ice creams. No. Oh, fart jokes. They're always funny.
Pumba, not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
But I've always suspected that the real reason that Florian is helping and offering Harry so much help is because he is the descendant from Hogwarts Headmaster Dexter Fortescue, whose full name, similar to the word sandwich, shows up in the final chapter of the saga. The headmasters and headmistresses of Hogwarts were giving him a standing ovation. They waved their hats and in some cases their wigs. Dexter Fortescue was waving his ear trumpet. So the idea is pretty simple here, right? If Florian had a portrait of his grandfather somewhere on the premises, then like Phineas Nigellus, it may have been able to communicate with Dumbledore after Harry's impromptu departure from number 4 Privet Drive and how Harry's just generally doing during his stay in Diagon Alley. Hamburger. Because, after all, if you'll remember, Dumbledore also believes that Sirius is guilty, so he definitely thinks Harry is in danger. But Harry's time with him in Prisoner is pretty much all we hear from Dear Florian until Half-Blood Prince when this happens. Did you hear about Florian Fortescue, Remus? Asked Bill. The man who ran the ice cream place in Diagon Alley, Harry interrupted, with an unpleasant hollow sensation in the pit of his stomach. He used to give me free ice creams. What's happened to him? Dragged off by the look of his place. And what's interesting is that his fate is never revealed in the books. And I know it might just seem like some off-screen character disappearing, and the kidnapping of an ice cream vendor just further demonstrates the true evil of Voldemort. But this conversation actually takes place right before they talk about Ollivander being kidnapped as well. The very next lines are, "Talking of Diagon Alley," said Mr. Weasley, "looks like Ollivander's gone too." "The wand maker?" said Ginny, looking startled. "That's the one. Shop's empty. No sign of a struggle. No one knows whether he left voluntarily or was kidnapped." What's odd here is the order of these two. Ollivander reads like an afterthought. Oh yeah, he's gone too. Florian is the introduction to these kidnappings. Yet Ollivander goes on to be a massive plot point in Deathly Hallows, and Florian is never seen or mentioned again. Not for nothing, but Ollivander seems like a way more important person to be missing as the main source of wands in the country. Like, if you control the source of the wands, you have as much greater control over who has access to magic. But Ben, where are people going to get their ice cream? My hair's all messed up. You can see why John Green always does it. And Jay. I know, right? Like, when you put it like that, it does feel like they're very even situations. But either way, that is how it's written. And the information on Pottermore tells us that Florian's role was intended to actually be much larger. Hamburger. Pottermore reads, Florian is a descendant of Dexter, and I originally planned Florian to be a conduit for clues that I needed to give Harry during his quest for the Hallows, which is why I established an acquaintance fairly early on. At this stage, I imagine the historically minded Florian might have a smattering of information on matters as diverse as the Elder Wand and the Diadem of Ravenclaw, the information having been passed down in the Fortescue family and from their august ancestor. I can definitely see where this would present a kind of writing challenge that was presented. Like, you need a good way to introduce good new lore into the series. Someone Harry is familiar with must have a unique reason to hold information that he and his team do not have. A Deus Ex Machina history buff / ice cream vendor seems like the obvious outlet. Right? I mean, if you're asking me, 1,000,000%. No changes, nuts and cherry on top, please and thank you. But y'all, we need to take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to one of my own personal favorites, Aura Frames. Okay, history time. Back in the year of 2003, little old Ben was in 7th grade, and I'd grown up posing for family photos for our dad and desperately wanted a digital camera of my own. I think that my original memory card was 8 megabytes and barely gave me an advantage over like film counterparts, but still I had it. But then as smartphones have taken over and allowed for nearly limitless photos, I've personally racked up like 50,000 on my phone alone. But the thing is, so many of these go to the great graveyard in the cloud, basically never to be seen again. Enter Aura Frames. They make this gorgeous countertop digital frame and gives me a place to send all of those photos that never otherwise really have a home. And the end result is endless conversations that are sparked by like the, oh, where were you guys in this one question? And honestly, it just sparks some old school like photo album nostalgia. Plus, I've given these to everyone in my family. Addison has one in her room even. And Aura makes it so easy to post photos not only to your own frame, but copy collections directly over to Addison's, our parents, my mother-in-law. It's great. And now you can save on the perfect gift that keeps on giving by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, our viewers can get $20 off their best-selling Carver matte frame with code AURA20. That's Aura, A-U-R-A, frames.com, promo code AURA20, and support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply, link in the description down below. Now back to the video, all the way around. But it turns out that this is what became known as a ghost plot.
Hello?
Which is where ghosts solve all of your plot-related reasons for you.
Like this.
Actually, that's not true, and yet somehow a little bit true. A ghost plot is a narrative that was established, but that never made it into the final product, not a plot about ghosts. And yet, ghosts do have something to do with why this particular plot got abandoned.
That's what you call ironic.
Here's what Harry was up against. He's heading into Deathly Hallows with 2 Horcruxes down proper, the ring and the diary. He suspects Voldemort's Snake Nagini per Dumbledore's guess, and he has been exposed to the locket and Hufflepuff's cup. Other than that, all he can guess is something of Ravenclaw or Gryffindor's, with a heavy lean towards Ravenclaw as there's only one known artifact of Gryffindor's, the sword. Of course, if I'm Dumbledore, I mean, that's still one more than you're aware of for Ravenclaw, so Dumbledore doesn't always make sense. Plus, Dumbledore knows the Sorting Hat came from, like, Godric's head, so I don't know, whatever. It is the diadem. Sometimes it feels like maybe you knew about the diadem and then for no reason at all just didn't tell Harry about it. It's like you're being unhelpful on purpose. Wait.
You've been raising him like a pig for slaughter.
Anyway, it's likely Harry would have finally gotten any amount of helpful information from Florian after Malfoy Manor, since that's where Voldy was keeping Ollivander, and it sounds like they were captured at the same time. But by that point in the story, Harry has already encountered Xenophilius Lovegood, who has already shown him his own attempt at creating the lost diadem of Ravenclaw, something that you don't really take very seriously at the time because, well, it's Xenophilius, and he also has mistaken a very explosive Arumpen horn for a crumple horn. Where does the Snorkack go? Actually, come to think of it, I'm a little surprised Harry doesn't latch on harder to the diadem, as he has no other leads to go on, and he swallows everything else Zeno says about the Hallows, hook, line, and sinker. Hamburger. But I guess that's also what sends him down the path of Hallows rather than Horcruxes. I do have to say that I think the use of Xenophilius in this situation is actually pretty spot on in comparison to the ghost thread that would have led us to Florian. Obviously, what we know is that Luna ends up being collected and held at Malfoy Manor herself, but Luna has already done a great job of being someone who is introduced as both quirky but also occasionally right about things.
You're just as sane as I am.
So with Xenophilius, our introduction to the Deathly Hallows can be thorough or even a little excessive, but wrapped in that layer of mystery that comes with Luna's father being the source. But you can see then what the setup might have been. Get the information initially from an unreliable source, but then go and confirm it with Florian later on after rescuing him. Instead, however, the missing information with the diadem goes to the Grey Lady, aka the Ghost of Ravenclaw. Ha! See? Ghost plot! Hamburger. And so what we're left with is Harry having to bury Dobby and come to some honest conclusions about his trust in Dumbledore and whether or not to pursue the Horcruxes or the Hallows. Which leads to a very pivotal moment for Harry in which he has to decide if he should talk to Griphook about the hidden Horcrux or Ollivander about the Elder Wand first. And here's the thing. The conversation with the Grey Lady was always intended. And while her inclusion in reveal might feel a little tacked on right at the end, it's really not. Hamburger. Even though we never met or heard about her, we always assumed that there was a ghost of Ravenclaw Tower in the castle somewhere because all three of the other houses had ghosts. Nearly Headless Nick, the Fat Friar, and the Bloody Baron. And the fact that the Grey Lady is actually related to Rowena Ravenclaw and that her story is linked to the otherwise mysterious Bloody Baron also makes her feel like her presence has been very real the whole time. But with Xenophilius and the Grey Lady there to give Harry all the information he needs to find the diadem, Florian was sadly left with no plot to his name, and thus his ending goes unpublished. Sort of. In that very same Pottermore article, we also learned that even though it's not mentioned in the books, good old Fortescue is dead. He's not the first wizard whom Voldemort murdered because he knew too much, or too little, but he's the only one I feel guilty about because it was all my fault. Oh, I see. You don't feel guilty about Tonks, or Lupin, or Fred, or Colin? Can't think of anyone else. Hedwig! So that is a bummer, but based on that description, I think we can assume that the reason that Voldemort had him kidnapped is because he was a known history buff and friendly with Harry Potter. And we know that Florian was supposed to have information about the Elder Wand and the diadem, and if he did not have satisfactory information about the Elder Wand and knew at all about the diadem, then I can see two good reasons for Voldemort to kill him. Maybe even a third if Florian promised to make him some of that famous Harry JP lactose-free ice cream and tipped a little lactose right on back in.
Stir it into the ice cream. See?
Yes, I see. What do you call this again?
Landslide. It's new. Very new.
Landslide.
Which is the moment that all of us together remember that Voldemort, like the rest of us, must poop. Ah, what sweet revenge. What sweet ice-cold revenge.
Just hold that thought and stay right there.
Hamburger. Y'all, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any future Harry Potter action from us. If you'd like to see another backstory that we've investigated for an otherwise kind of obscure character, you can take a look at Aberforth Dumbledore's obsession with goats right over here. Trust me, there's actually a lot more to it than you might expect. But otherwise, until next time, bye! And don't forget to eat cheese.